Now is 7 p.m. I will now call this commission meeting to order. At this time, I please ask everyone to please silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices. Your greeters at the door tonight is Finance Director Kelly McGuire and Assistant Finance Director Chris Bile. I will start with staff introductions and members of the commission. Starting to my far right and your far left, Recording Secretaries Taylor Lockhart and Elizabeth Walden. City Clerk Susan Doderis. Deputy Mayor Zone 1 Commissioner Lori Tolland.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome.
Zone 2 Commissioner Travis Sargent.
Good evening, welcome.
Zone 3 Commissioner Kristen Deaton.
Good evening, everyone.
Zone 4 Commissioner Howard Briley.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
City Manager Joyce Shanahan. Assistant City Manager Sean Finley. City Attorney Randy Hayes. And to my far left and your far right, I see Captain Chris Roos, Fire Chief Howard Bailey, and I am Mayor Jason Leslie. At this time, I'd like to call up Chaplain Sam Mercado of Advent Health to give the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, through your mercy and protection, we have made it to this day in September. Thank you for watching over each of us and our city of Ormond Beach. Tonight, we lift up to you our mayor and city leaders, and thank you for watching over them and giving them wisdom and guidance in handling the business and concerns of our city and its people. Bless this meeting tonight and guide the decisions that will be made. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May all be seated. Thank you, Chaplain. Okay, we're going to move on to adoption of fiscal year 2025-2026 millage rates and budget. I will now open the public hearings. City Clerk, please read the legal title for A.
Resolution number 2025-146, a resolution adopting final millage rates to be levied for fiscal year 2025-2026, directing certification, expressing legislative intent, and setting forth an effective date. This is resolution number 2025-146, read by title only.
Move approval.
Second.
Per Florida statute, I am required to state the final millage rate for the city of Ormond Beach necessary to fund the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget is 4.3867 mils. This rate is 12.36% above the rolled back rate of 3.9042 mils. The final debt service millage is 0.063 for the 2010 general obligation bond sinking fund. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak or ask questions prior to the adoption of the final millage rate? And I do have cards. And the first person I'd like to call up is Susan Persis.
Good evening. I rise this evening to express my appreciation to Commissioners Tolland, Sargent, Deaton, and Briley for the thoughtful leadership they have shown in supporting the property tax increase before us. As a former city commissioner, I know these decisions are never simple or popular, yet they speak directly to the priorities of our city. This budget is an investment in the very pillars of Ormond Beach. This budget strengthens our commitment to the public safety by ensuring our firefighters and police officers have the salaries they deserve and the resources they need. This budget strengthens our leisure services, which enrich the lives of our families and supports our senior citizens. Even with this tax increase, Ormond Beach will continue to maintain the second lowest tax rate in Volusia County. Mr. Mayor, your supporter George Arnold was at it again, crafting and paying for another negative and critical mailer about Ormond Beach elected officials. Mr. Arnold, who lives on an oceanfront property and a multi-million-dollar house, is apparently unhappy he may have to pay more property taxes. In this mailer, he incorrectly implies that you are against the property tax increase. However, official records show that at the first budget public hearing, you voted in favor of the property tax increase. During your short, turbulent time as mayor, you have demonstrated a propensity of taking positions in front of a certain audience and then taking the opposing position in front of another audience. Proof of this is even your supporter and friend, Mr. Arnold, doesn't know where you stand on the property tax increase. So, did you see the content of this flyer before it was mailed? If the answer is yes, did you caution George Arnold about the mailer's harsh and hateful comments about the people sitting on each side of you? I'm asking because you have been silent about this mailer, which implies you approve of him criticizing each one of your colleagues who, unlike you, took the lead to address the needs of our youth, our families, our seniors, and first responders. By failing to condemn it and by your tacit approval, you give legitimacy to a message that seeks to tear down rather than build up. Positive leaders demonstrate integrity, fairness, and courage to call out harmful behavior, even when it's politically convenient to stay quiet. You have asked and requested this commission to work together, but you choose not to defend the truth or your fellow commissioners. The citizens of Ormond deserve better. We deserve a mayor who will rise above smear tactics and hateful rhetoric. We deserve a mayor who will protect the reputation of Ormond Beach. We deserve a mayor who will promote civility. And most importantly, we deserve a mayor who is for the people and not for himself. Thank you.
Next up is Colin McManus.
Good evening, and thank you for hearing me. I'll try to keep this as brief as I can because everybody loves brevity and not ongoing whatnot. I'm just going to take a little excerpt from Miss Jarlene, I should say, I will not mention Miss or Mrs. Jarlene Almenis, recently in the Ormond Beach Observer. This is regarding youth sports. I speak to you as a single individual. I do not have kids except those with 4 paws. I was a youth ice hockey player for many years from the state that I come from, and I've been here for 27 years. I've owned my home since 1998. My water bill was $40 at that point. It's now $82. But I'm not here about water. I'm here about youth sports. And I understand it because I played youth sports. The one thing that concerns me in reading this article is, and I'll quote, on the heels of the city recognizing the Ormond Beach Soccer Club for recently representing the city at the Iber Cup in Portugal, citizens, community leaders, and city advisory board members spoke about the importance of funding youth sports. Who's paying for that flight? Okay. Right answer. I just wanted to be sure of that. And I do promote. I just think we got to be really careful about how much money we spend extracurricularly without good reason behind it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Next up is Bijan Bor. Is there a Bijan here? Bijan? Oh, there you are.
Hey, Jason. I just want to make one thing clear, that I know the youth sports, he did not want to cut anything of that. I trust Jason with all of my heart, so with Harold. But Lori, Travis, and Kristen, I remember helping you guys win your elections very, very well. Travis, you ran unopposed, but I still helped you. The amount of bullying that I've seen from this commission is unbelievable. We're supposed to work together. We're supposed to make Ormond Beach great again. We're supposed to be strong. Why are you constantly bullying Jason when he's trying to get everything done across the course? Kristen, of you of one, I am very disappointed in you, especially. I helped you win, and you told me you were going to keep taxes lowered. Now you want to hike the taxes. Harold, we're good and everything, just not the best with the whole taxes thing. But if anything, there are plans to cut certain programs that we don't need, but we should definitely not cut youth sports. I play soccer twice a week out in Ormond Beach. It's fun, but I can tell you this, to keep it short, Travis, Lori, Kristen, you guys are going to have a tough 2026 re-election. That's all I got to say. Jason, stay strong. I love you, brother. That's all I got.
Next up, Scott Gotaukis. I'm sorry. Trying to read the rest of it there.
Good talkers.
Okay, sorry.
I wrote my little speech down so I don't go off track. I too did receive this card. The issue tonight before you is fiscal responsibility. And let's be honest, too often commissioners before you have kicked that can down the road, and that's why we're here today. And it's all done to avoid upsetting a handful of people who are opposed to paying taxes or any increase. But when you ran for office, when you took your oath, no one promised you this job would be easy. The choice before you is simple. You can make it easy by ignoring what needs to be done, or you can lead. There comes a time when all the handshakes, the smiles, the photo ops have to be put aside. And a decision has to be made. That time is tonight. No one loves paying taxes, just like no one in Florida loves paying for home insurance. But let me ask you, which of you are exempt from paying taxes? Anybody? So this is a tax increase for every one of you. Now here's what I do like. I like clean, safe drinking water. I like knowing that when I need an officer, one will be at my door quickly. God forbid my house catches fire or my neighbor's house catches fire. I like knowing the full force of our fire department is coming. Those services and many more are what the city of Ormond provides, and they cost money. Every single year, the cost of doing business goes up. That's true in the private sector as well as here. To the gentleman who opposed this tax increase with a citywide mailer, please don't take this as an attack, take it as perspective. The money you spent printing and mailing those postcards is probably more than the additional $388 in Ormond Beach taxes that he's going to pay on that property. And I got those figures between the Ormond Observer and his trim notice. The decision tonight is not about politics. It's not about popularity. And it's about responsibility. Shared sacrifice for shared benefits. That's the leadership our city needs, and that is the decision before you tonight. Let me sum this up by saying this. For every one of me standing here tonight, there are a couple of hundred more, maybe a couple thousand, who are not worried about this tax increase. And let me be clear. If it were not for the misinformation being spread about our mayor wanting to cut youth sports, I'm guessing the crowd at the last meeting would have been much, much lighter. So I'll be plain. I support this tax increase, and I support our way of life here in Ormond Beach. Thank you.
Next up is Ed Kelly.
Good evening, Commissioner, Mayor, and Commissioners. My name is Ed Kelly. My wife and I have lived in Ormond Beach almost 45 years. We've participated in a lot of activities here. Some of you know what some of those would be. First off, I do not like property tax. I don't like them. But like the last speaker said, what I do like is public protection. I want to make sure that fire and rescue is fully staffed and they're enabled to come out to any emergency they need to. They had to come to me 3 times in the last 10 years. So I appreciate that. I want to make sure our police department is fully funded. What the last speaker didn't mention total revenue from property tax, and I think this is very important. The total revenue from what we're paying in property taxes is $22 million. The cost to provide the services for public protection is over $24 million. Would you pay a fire fee if that was an option? Would you pay a fee to the PD to make sure that we have police and we know that they're going to be there? Of course you would. But it's even every dime that you get from property taxes doesn't cover public safety. So any cuts you make anywhere else is affecting our public service, our public protection. So I support it. I don't like property taxes, but I do want to have these amenities that we have. The Ormond Beach Sports Complex. One March, they said there were over 100,000 people there during the month of March using it, from all the soccer and baseball that was going on during that month. Rockefeller Gardens, Andy Romano Beachfront Park. We could go on and on and on. These are very important to our way of life. Our daughter played soccer. Our son played baseball. I was playing as young as 5 years old. Very important. What's overlooked also is someone like Harry Wendelstead and Doug Thomas out there illegally creating a baseball field. Now, they'll admit it now because the statute of limitations is worn out. But that's what started it, was that one baseball field. Go out there on a Saturday morning when soccer is being played and look at the kids and parents that are out there. You're going to have to cut somewhere. It better not be there. It better not. I would have paid the rate you originally set because they didn't that much. As the gentleman who sent the flyer out, in 21 years, his taxes are $1,000 higher than they were 21 years ago. And I think on a $2 million piece of property, he can probably afford it, probably could have used that money he spent for the flyer. So I urge you to support it fully, make sure that we're taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Next up is Edward and Kimberly Campitelli. Oh.
Hello and good evening. My wife and I are residents of Ormond Beach, and we are different as far as the feeling of the raising the taxes. Should not raise it. And the reason is, about a little more than a year ago, our monthly mortgage went up $110 a month. They claimed that, the mortgage company claimed that taxes went up. I said, not that much. The other thing is, my wife and I, we had no more money. I had to go back to work part-time 6 months ago. I'm handicapped, and we just don't have the money to pay it. If you raise it, we may have to leave Ormond Beach. So I don't have much more to say after that. Sorry, I was a EMT firefighter in another state for 31 years. I know the importance of the fire service there in here too. And so, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Colleen McMahon.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say that I would absolutely vote no on this tax increase. Since 2020, the operating budget has increased by 50%, with less than 1% population growth, according to the 2023 census. Here we go again. Let's raise the taxes. Just like this gentleman said, they cannot afford it. We have a problem. And it's time to say to all of you, enough is enough. Taxing residents just because you can does not mean you should. We're too down the road on this budget. We are. I was at the workshops. I heard one of the commissioners, and I won't mention who, state, well, it's not that much a month. Yes, it is. I want to challenge the residents here the residents virtually to go to the city website transparent portal. Anybody have any questions how to get on that? Contact me. I would like everybody to look at the city employees' salaries. The median household income in Ormond Beach is $67,482, according to the Bureau in 2023. You will be very, very surprised, as I was, on city's annual income. The operating budget. Review the vendor payments. Look at the checkbook payments. Look at the Truist credit card payment. Look at the Amazon entries. You'll find some very interesting finds. Auto-renewing contracts are still an issue. Find those in the agenda minutes. The FOIA request I submitted will not give me the answers. They want to charge me $887 because guess why? They don't have the active contracts listed as auto-renewal. Tonight in the agenda, we have another auto-renewal contract coming through. Has anybody looked at it? A group of us Ormond Beach residents are in the process of organizing to use our talent to audit the budget finances of Ormond Beach. Please see me if interested. We have a lot of ground to cover and we need resident involvement. There's more to come. My final thought. Anyone who opens a newspaper or watches the news, even state legislator, realizes that cities like Ormond Beach need to curtail their spending. It is time. Following my detailed evaluation of the budget finances and all the current contracts, which I've been knee-deep in, I am excited to declare my candidacy for Zone 1 Commissioner. We need straightforward, effective government that works for us residents, not vice versa. Our tax dollars demand clear transparency, accountability, which we are currently lacking with this commission. Thank you.
Next up is Irene Mulliman. Sorry, I'm trying to read the writing here.
Hello. I don't know any of you. I'm here on the tax problem because my father asked me to come back here. I was born and raised in Ormond Beach. I grew up here. He asked me to come back to take care of him. Well, he happened to pass faster than expected. So my name has been on the property deed since 2019, and he passed in 2024. So I paid his taxes last year, which was $2,000. So then I called the appraiser's office after I followed protocol of doing the homestead, getting my license, and what I'm supposed to do. So you guys are taking it up to $8,400 for me a year. Okay? That's not the best part. So then I go try to find insurance for the property. Cheapest I can get is $10,000 a year. They say I'm not in the flood zone, yet they made me get flood insurance. So you expect me to pay $18,400 a year. That's like making a house payment every month. That's crazy. So I don't get it, because if it's not fixed, and you did more than double it and triple it, I mean, this is ridiculous. This is, I mean, you guys got to do something. Either that or I'm leaving Florida again. I'm just not going to put up with it. So that's basically all I got to say. Somebody needs to fix it, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene.
Excuse me, Mayor. Would you mind reminding the residents to please state their name and their address so we can follow up later if needed?
Yes.
Thank you.
I didn't realize we didn't do that. And Irene, we'll have somebody follow up you on an email with that too. Some sounds off with what you said. Next up is Glenn Lowry. Sorry.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure to be here. This is actually, my name is Glenn Lowry. I live on Valencia Drive in Ormond Beach, and Travis is my zone 2. So I just want to say very briefly that I'm really, really thankful to have a chance to actually stand up and say something because I haven't done this before. And I moved to Ormond Beach from Canada about 8 years ago. I escaped socialism. And I became a citizen a year and a half ago. So I'm really excited to actually try out our political system. So that's really great. So the interesting about the budget is that I feel like the ship already left the dock. So I feel like I was on a cruise, and I got dropped off on an island and I ran too late and the boat left. So I thought it is really hard to understand the city budget. And I was actually glad that Colleen got up and spoke before me because I thought this is what I really would like to do. I would be glad to volunteer or be part of a citizens group that maybe for another year, if this is already a done issue, then at least we can look and because I did hear that the police were underpaid. I have a neighbor who's retired from the Ormond Beach Police Force. So we definitely want to keep our sports. We want to keep our safety. Our 5 had fire trucks on my street. I mean, we don't want to compromise those sort of things. But I do think there are probably areas in the city that could be looked at to trim and save money. And I thank Jason for trying to take that stand. I know it's been a kind of a very polarizing thing. But I think there are a lot of residents who have not spoken up, and maybe, like I said, this is my first time trying it out. So, but I really love Ormond Beach, and I thank you so much. I know it's a very hard job to be in public office. I think that's kind of a shocking thing to get into because it gets so controversial. But I really support you. I would know that any way I could be involved as a citizen, and I would, the biggest jump in my taxes has gone up. It will be this increase. I'm retired, and my property insurance has skyrocketed, so I am struggling on a fixed income, and I think a lot of people are. So, but if we can look at even at a future budget and look at ways that we could creatively make cost savings and keep the taxes down, it'd be great. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thanks, Glenn. Gigi Galloway?
Mayor and council members and staff, I believe there's been a lot of confusion on property taxes and what our percentage is from the city and the other 11 entities on our tax bill. January 1st, 1995, Ms. Mulligan, and my heart is sad for you, but on January 1st, 1995, the citizens of the state of Florida passed unanimously Save Our Homes. And when I hear people come up and say that their taxes have gone up 30 or 40 or 50%, they might have. But Save Our Homes, when adopted by the entire state, was to stop your taxes from on a primary residence could go up no more than 3%. During those times in 2022, we had a 7% CPI increase. 2023, we had a 6%, and 2024, we had a 3.4% increase. A home that can only go up 3% if it's your homestead. If I bought a home for $300,000 and I sell it now, I've been here 42 years, and if I sell it for $600,000, the first year that person bought my house, they are only going to pay taxes on $300,000. But the next year, the full calendar year, guess what they have to pay on their home that I was only paying based on $300,000? It's not the city, it's not the county, it's the state of Florida that adopted Save Our Home, and upon transfer of ownership, they will pay taxes on $600,000, regardless what the millage rate is. So I ask the citizens to please understand that if you change home ownership, you change a name, it's not that your taxes, I heard 2 weeks ago a gentleman say, my taxes went up 50%. Has nothing to do with the city, has nothing to do with the county. It has everything with Save Our Home. So I wish people would understand that. It's something that you, the citizens of the state of Florida, pass. Look it up, Save Our Homes. And the next news is, get ready, because you're going to see on the ballot, no property taxes as a constitutional amendment within the next 2 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gigi. All right, at this time, I don't have any more cards. We do have a motion on the floor in a second. Hold on one second. I should state this again, though, just so we understand everything and it's on record. The final operating millage of 4.3867 mils is 12.36% above the rolled back millage rate of 3.9042 mils. The resolution also includes adoption of the final debt service millage rate of 0.063 for the 2010 general obligation bond sinking fund. With that, though, Commissioner Sargent wanted to say something, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the residents that came out this evening. As we all know, Governor DeSantis, his big initiative is reducing, getting rid of, eliminating property taxes. And, we have the 13-page self-Doge guidelines that they've put out. And just to read a little excerpt from it, the United States will be celebrating its 250th birthday in 2026. We've come a long way from the inauguration of George Washington as the first president in 1789. But his words remain true that our democracy is an experiment entrusted in the hands of the American people. The success of this experiment, of the government, of the people, by the people, for the people, depends on all of us in public service upholding the public trust by delivering the services people expect without engaging in waste, surrendering funds to fraudsters, and succumbing to the temptation that we are wise in the ways that the voters of Florida cannot expect to fathom. Over the last few months, I've been looking at this budget and trying to come up with options of how we can reduce it. Tonight, I would like to put forward a plan for consideration. It's a bold plan to go flat on our taxes and to protect home rule. We don't need Tallahassee to come in and tell us how to do our budget. With that being said, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion, amend a motion to reduce the general fund millage by 0.086 mils. It will eliminate 2 park positions. It eliminates the public works position and the risk management position. And it also will take away the live streaming, which is, the live streaming is $120,000 per year. I think that can be put on hold. Reduce the general CIP millage by 0.380 mils. Reduce the facilities R&R mills by am I getting in trouble?
Yes.
Darn it, I thought I was on a roll.
You were doing great. I just want to correct the CIP millage, 0.038 mils. That's the reduction.
Thank you. So for the record, reduce the general CIP mill by 0.0380 mils. Reduce the leisure services mills by 0.1040. Revised operating tax rate will be 4.0891 mils plus 0.063 debt millage for a total of 4.1521, 0.21% below the current rate, 4.74% above rollback. Now, in order to fund these, because I don't want to take away services, I think that everything that we're taking away the millage rate, but I think that we need to fund the dock at Riviera to be rebuilt. We need to fund certain things. So in order to fund these, we will pull $1,061,557 from our reserves to fund those. That will still give us a general fund reserve amount of 17.54%, which is above our threshold of 15%. This will provide the residents with a flat millage for this year. So I don't think the ship has sailed. I think we have options. It takes a lot to go through this and to come up with these because I don't want to cut any services. And this is a plan that will provide the residents with the services they expect and not have to pay additional taxes. I will yield my time for discussion purposes. Thank you.
Is there well, we already have a motion on the table, right? So
you have a motion on the table for the millage that was adopted at the previous meeting. I believe, and I want to make sure the record is clear, did Commissioner Travis make that in the form of a motion to amend?
I did.
Okay, and is there a second to that motion?
So we need a second for discussion, correct?
Correct.
So I will make that second.
Okay, is there any discussion we want to go into? Because if not, we're going to have to go to recess to figure out some new numbers, right? No? Yes. Kelly, why don't you give some clarity on that?
Certainly, I will be happy to. Commissioner Sargent has already discussed these with me, so I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
That was a lot.
It was a lot.
In a short period of time.
Yes.
Would you like me to go back through it? Would that be helpful?
I would love to hear it again in another, and the only question not the only question, but the one question that really stood out for me was in our workshops, I thought we were much closer of the 15 as opposed to the 17 for the reserve. I didn't realize we were at 17, and if that is my bad, please explain.
No, I will be happy to explain. It's not your bad, but let me explain. You have two reserves in the general fund. You have what we typically call the reserve, and you have a revenue stabilization fund. Effectively, those are the same thing, even though we keep them separate. So when you look at those combined, based upon the proposal, if you used the $1,061,557 in fund balance, you would still be at 17.54%.
Mr. Mayor, if I might jump in. So several years ago, I think it was in around 2020, Kelly, we created that revenue stabilization fund, maybe a little bit before that, because there was such volatility in the market. And so we have maintained that fund for a number of years, and we have not touched those funds.
Correct.
But they can be used for any general purpose. And the auditors combine them as one as well. Is that correct, Kelly?
The auditors keep them separate. And I think that's where the confusion comes in, because sometimes we talk about one alone, and then sometimes we talk about the combination of the two.
Yes.
Would you mind going over those things that you want to take out one more time?
Certainly.
I mean, slowly. My brain is just crazy right now.
Reduce the general fund millage by 0.086 mils, which would eliminate 2 park positions, and the public works and risk management, which we have 2 assistant city managers that are fulfilling those roles. So we have one that is public works director / assistant city manager, and we have another one who's assistant city manager and risk manager. So that's eliminating 2 positions. And then taking away the live streaming, which is $120,000 a year, which I think, I'm all for the technology. That was one of my big initiatives, was to get everything upgraded to the chambers. But I think this is a time that we can put that off. Reduce the CIP mills by 0.038 mils. Reduce the...
What's included in What's included in that? You're reducing, but what are we?
So everything that I'm trying to reduce, we're still going to fund the baseball fields, and we're just going to pull it from reserves, but we can't just pull it from reserves and apply it. We have to reduce the mills in order to have a flat.
And I apologize if I'm monopolizing the conversation, but feel free to jump in. What does that mean in the future if we reduce mills now?
That means
tell
a
me
year
about
from
that.
now, those mills are not available, right? So we're talking about a permanent reduction in those dedicated millages that were mentioned. And Commissioner Sargent is suggesting for next fiscal year that the projects planned would still be funded through fund balance. So if you had additional projects you wanted to fund the year after that, you would have a couple of options. You would have to either add the millage back, or you would have to fund additional projects with fund balance again.
I'll continue. I think we also, the next step in this is to have a workshop where we sit down with our budget advisory board, our department heads, and we, within the next 30 days, and go through the self-doging, where we set our goals and expectations of what we need to accomplish over this next year to refund or to find ways to put this money back into the reserves. And I think part of that too is in that workshop, I'd like to review the top 5 largest contracts that we have and discuss bidding them, where are we on them, and set up those goals for the next year. Then, and I think down the road, I think we need to do 90 days from that, I think we need to have strict guidelines and strict dates and have these strict expectations. And I think within 90 days from the initial workshop, we have another workshop where staff provides us with their findings. And then we discuss from there our next steps. And this is an ongoing process. This isn't just a one-time workshop and then we forget about a year. This is ongoing of how we can be more physically responsible. And I think staff does a great job, but I think right now with the governor and the leadership in Tallahassee wanting to cut property taxes, we need to really look at these options.
Sure.
I think it is super important that we do our CIP and our strategic planning much sooner. We need to give staff time, and we need to say, hey, instead of saying, hey, these are the projects we want to do, hey, this is the strategic plan we want to do, we need to say, here's the budget we want to go in with. We want to go in at flat. We want to go in at taking a small increase and then focus on our projects from there. And I think we need to work on that sooner than later. That's going to save staff some time, and I think it's going to save us where we're not doing this scrambling last minute. We just need to be more proactive, is my opinion on that.
I think everything you said, Travis, makes a lot of sense. I do feel like we're on a train, and I feel like that train is falling off the tracks right now. I 100% feel like we should doge ourselves. But for me right now, I'm thinking about the timing of this. Why are we jumping off that train right at this second? Why aren't we moving in the direction that we were going 2 weeks ago and then make a very smart, concerted effort to doge ourselves, to look at all the places that we can cut? I understand that the state is making a big imprint on all of the cities, and that is a big concern, and I respect what they're trying to do. But I also feel like we, I just have a whole lot of thoughts in my head. I'm just not quite ready to go that direction. Anyway, jump in, Kristen. I'll probably come back. Thanks.
Okay, so can you speak to me about the Public Works position? You just spoke about that. Okay, let's talk about the Parks and Rec position. It was the 2 positions that Robert said he desperately needed, correct?
That is correct. Those are
that
the
he
positions.
desperately needed.
That's correct.
Okay, that's where I'm struggling is we sat here and promised people 2 weeks ago that we weren't going to cut from Parks and Rec. We promised them. That's where I'm struggling right now. I understand saving money. I feel horrible for you. I really do. And I want to be there. I really do want to be there. And I think if we take a more proactive approach going forward, we can definitely look at doing this in the future. But I'm struggling with the community begging us to not cut services, and here we are cutting services.
To be clear, we're not cutting services. We are funding it with reserve balance, and we still will have a 17.54% on the reserve balance. We're not cutting.
Are we cutting the 2 Parks and Rec positions?
They're going to be put on hold.
Commissioner Briley, do you want to say?
This is tough. The only reason I say this is because the same issues I brought up last meeting in regards to our police, our fire, our general employees. It sounds like with the proposed cuts this evening, you're not filling a public works position and I guess a risk management position, which is already being covered. We're not filling 2 needed Parks and Rec positions with this motion. Sounds like we are replacing the fuel truck that belongs in the museum and some other vehicles. I don't like, and I know we're not going to, dip into the reserves to fund positions. You don't spend reserves for recurring expenses. You know, there's a lot of things we don't talk about when we talk about taxes. We talk about all the things we can see. And those are important. Police, fire, public works. What we don't see sometimes in Ormond Beach, and it's not just Ormond Beach, it's everywhere. We saw it last year. Hurricane Milton. A lot of people experienced flooding. And we have infrastructure in the city that's crumbling. Stormwater pipes that can't carry the water, or they're collapsed, or they're ditches that can't handle the water, or the pipes are too small, or they're broken. Do we want that again? I mean, at some point we have to pay for it. Do we pay for it this year? Do we pay for it next year? Just keep in mind, at some point we have to pay for it. The money's not going to fall out of the sky. We can ask Tallahassee. They might give it to us. They might not. There's no guarantee. I took a ride in my zone about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago with a resident who was concerned about the ditches. And not only do we need ditches in those areas, we need road stabilization because the road is crumbling into the ditch. And that's a lot more complicated than just going out and digging the ditch. You got to stabilize the road. Otherwise, the road's just going to fall right into the ditch. The pipes are dented. And some of this stuff is not, the city annexed some of this property years ago from the county, so it was probably not in the best shape to begin with. But we haven't had the money or the manpower through maybe enough employees to remedy the situation. So these are things we have to look at. I mean, and again, it's not the pretty things. Listen, some of these, I got to tell you, my grandfather's engineering firm designed the city sewer in Ormond Beach in the 1960s. And the pipe they used back then was terracotta clay pipe. Some of that pipe is still underground. 60 years old plus. And it deteriorates. I mean, over time, it was good pipe when it was laid. But roots find their way into the joints. The city has to go out and use a snake to clean some of these problem areas out. So at some point, they have to be replaced. Take a ride down Clyde Morris. It's a county road, but sometimes I'm sure everyone's been just south of Hooligans and hit that dip that's in the road. And the county goes in, they keep putting asphalt on top of it, but that dip comes back. That's a pipe. That's a stormwater pipe that's leaking. And it's undermining the road right there. Someone's going to pay for it eventually. Otherwise, and people call all the time, well, there's a dip in the road. I understand there's a dip in the road. But someone's got to fix it. So, I understand the pleas for no tax increase, and listen, I can see it. I think as Mr. Katalka said, we pay the taxes too. So just keep that in mind. Whichever way the vote goes this evening, at some point these things have to be addressed. And again, they're not pretty. Again, there's everything we see up here, but we don't see the things down below that have to be addressed as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Briley. Question for Kelly. With the motion now for a different millage rate, what would happen if the vote fails?
On the motion to amend?
Yes.
You still have the original motion you have to vote on.
Oh, okay. Is there a motion to amend?
There was a motion to amend, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What would it be what would it do to the bills to add in the 2 positions for Parks and Rec?
If you add the 2, if you didn't cut the 2 positions, it's 0.0195 mils that would be added back. So you'd be at total millage 4.1716, which is slightly above the current millage of 4.161. I can't tell you what the rollback is. I haven't calculated it.
Sure.
Yes.
So on the Commissioner Briley wants to speak as well. You want to?
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
So as far as those specific items that Commissioner Sargent talked about, I do not want to eliminate the 2 park positions. I'd be willing to eliminate at the moment the risk manager position, the public works position, and the live stream. I do not want to eliminate the CIP, the millage for the CIP. What I really want to just say more than anything, and we've said this multiple times, is that we are still the lowest taxed city in Volusia County. And even if we raise it a little bit, we're still going to be the lowest. And it's all about the services that we have to provide to the residents and be smart with our spending and secure the quality of life that everybody has come to enjoy. I have to say that when I was elected, or when I decided to run, I was always worried about this exact situation and being pulled politically, worrying about re-election, worrying about the residents, worrying about all that stuff. At the end of the day, what really matters is that you can put your head down at night and know you made the best decision for your residents, the ones that you represent. And there was one comment that was said to me that I've kept close to my heart, and that person's in this room right now. And he said to me, always stay authentic. So I am going to stay authentic. I'm going to consider, in the best of my ability, to cut what needs to be cut, that we could look at later and maybe add back in the budget. But I don't want to compromise the quality of life for our residents here. They mean way too much to me, and they've all spoken to me, and that's kind of where I'm at. But I would like to doge ourselves after this meeting, and I would expect staff would want to do that as well.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Commissioner Briley, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if I can get this right, so Commissioner Tom, what you're proposing is not filling the public works position, not filling the risk management position.
And risk management.
Filling those.
Not filling them.
Fill the 2 parks positions.
I
Do
said
not
you-
fill
not-
the risk and the public works, because we kind of have a
Correct.
dual role right now anyway. Then we can put that off.
Kelly, if we funded the 2 parks positions, what would that tax increase be?
It would change the,
0.01 mils. Which would
for
be,
those 2 parks positions, 0.0195 mils.
so about how much money would that be for an average household? Don't know.
I don't.
Don't know. Okay. Well, we don't do public math, that's right.
Apparently we
Something
do,
else
but
we have
not
to
that
remember
public
too, and I
math.
just want to throw this out there just for our residents, because I think there's other things that are cut that need to be talked about. We've talked about we're not going to do the lighting at one of the recreation fields, or it's been discussed. Perhaps we can pull that money later from somewhere, reserves, or get a grant. I would encourage us to go out and look at ECHO grants or whatever grants may be available for recreation, especially when we're talking about some of the things that might be in the CIP, like Field 1. One of the other projects is the fishing pier at Riviera Park. The funding for that would be cut, is my understanding.
Correct.
I don't know what kind of money that would cost. Again, it might be beneficial to go to Florida Inland Navigation District, see if there's any money there, or ECHO. Of course, they're not going to probably fund the whole thing. No. And again, I don't like pulling money out of reserves if we don't have to, but might have to. I don't know. It's just things I think we have to consider. But if it wouldn't be a huge increase to fill those 2 parks positions, because Robert was very clear with us, when he spoke to us at the workshop, that he really needed those positions.
Sure.
And knowing how many people he has on staff and the amount of work they have to do, because they don't do just parks and recreation, they do facilities work. They do a lot of work in our facilities. It's not just parks and recreation. The safety of our parks, our residents expect to use safe parks. They expect for the playground equipment to be safe. They expect for the restrooms to be clean, the restrooms to be safe, all these types of things. I would like to see those 2 positions if we do nothing else. Thank you.
Commissioner Sargent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing's being cut from the CIP. We're using reserves to fund those this year. What if we delayed Field 1, the $450,000 this year? Would that offset, or how would that offset adding those 2 positions?
Well, the issue with that, first of all, 45 cents was the answer to your question that you asked a few minutes ago. And the answer to your question is you're taking capital money to try to fund an ongoing expense, right?
45 cents?
45 cents.
I think at a minimum, we at least need to do that
per year
geoengineering test on Field 1 so we can see what can go in that field if we need to look at selling it. I know I've brought that up before. I know I've brought up leasing that out, but we need to figure out what can actually go on that field.
I believe that's in the current year's budget.
If I might interject, I think that's excellent, and we would like to look at grant money for that.
Maybe a brownfield.
Brownfield grant, absolutely.
Yeah.
The pier at Riviera that Commissioner Bradley was speaking about, we're funding that with reserves, correct?
The pier? Based upon your amended proposal, yes. It would be funded with reserves, and then we are applying for, I believe, a find grant for the other half.
Would we be trying to refund those reserves? Is that the plan in the future, or no? I'm just curious.
Absolutely. I think that's what we sit down to self-doge ourselves, and we set our goals and our expectations, and that's our number 1 goal is how to refund that.
So you're saying that all the things that you suggested would be not cut, but just funded out of reserves, and then over this course of year, when we're doging ourselves, we will hopefully find money to refund ourselves.
Correct. None of the projects are being, the only thing we would take away is the parks positions, which I really don't want to. I'm just throwing it out there as options. That's all that I'm proposing is options. If there's a consensus to put those back in, I'm all for it.
I don't want to take away the park positions, and I don't want to take away the CIP mills. I'd be willing to do the live stream, because I don't think we're really all on board on that anyway. And the 2 positions, I think we can take away, and if we feel like we need it in the future, we can address that.
The 2 positions you're talking about is the risk manager and the public works? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And those aren't like firing people, that's just not hiring. Okay. I am okay with pulling the live stream. I'm okay with the risk management merger, that's fine. I'm not okay with Parks and Rec. And I'd like to know what happens next year.
So can I follow up with what, Kristen, you said? Yep. I agree. I mean, our whole budget process starts with strategic planning and then our capital improvement. And, you know, it's kind of like Christmas, right? You do a wish list and you just say, oh, we want this, we want this, we want this, without knowing how much money it really is. They keep us real, but they always say it's going to cost. And we're like, oh, okay, still put it in. And then we get ourselves in this position. So I think if we go into those workshops knowing that our goal next year, let's just say, is flat, okay, which will probably be in the same position next year, and then we have a realistic workshop of what can go in and what can't go in. And I like that, and I think starting it sooner. I think we had a later start than usual this time, and I think if we start it early, then we can all be working, staying on that train, so we can get to this end of the road and be where we want to be.
And at this rate, we need like 6 budget workshops, let's be honest. I mean, if we're going to keep doing this over and over, we really need more budget workshops to sit and talk through this.
I have to say, I'm really glad we're having this discussion, but I think the timing really stinks.
I agree.
And I wish we would have done this sooner. But I do appreciate the thoughts, Commissioner.
I agree, and I appreciate the hard work you've put into this. I really do. I'd love to go flat. I don't want to see anything compromised, and I want to know what happens next year. How do we fund staff increases, staff raises, whatever has to be funded if we're going to continue to do this? Because we can't pull from reserves from that sort of thing.
Correct. So let me just offer this to you.
Go ahead.
Right? So this, just so we understand that if, as this was passed, those millages would be eliminated, right? So even if you add money back to the general fund reserves, understand, you're not adding those millages back. They're not there for ongoing projects year after year after year. I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that. And to get to your question, things like salary and benefit increases. If you go flat, there's still additional property tax revenue because of growth. I doubt that it will be very much, right? Because we're seeing that the property tax growth, the growth in taxable values is less than it's been in prior years. And I would expect that to continue to come down. But there is likely enough with that and increases in other revenues. And that's the part we haven't really talked about much, is part of the reason that we have this request for a tax increase this year is because the remaining general fund revenues were all flat. I've been here 20 years, that has never happened, right? Typically, we can count on additional utility tax or electric franchise fees or something of that nature to absorb some of these increases. It's not the case this year, so.
So we'll be in the same position next year?
No, I don't think we'll be in the same position next year.
If we want to go flat?
I think that if you're giving us that direction, and really, we've already had that conversation, right? We will get you there.
Okay.
But we need, as you said, we need to know that sooner than 3 weeks before. Right?
Okay.
Kelly.
And if I can just finish, if you don't mind, I will just add that in the past, and it hasn't been the last several years, but in the past, we've done a financial trends workshop with the commission in March and kind of kicked off there where we let you know this is what we're seeing, right? We're seeing increases over here in these expenditures. We're seeing increases in these revenue sources. We're not seeing increases over here, so that you get some idea really of what you can realistically start asking to be added to the budget Or do we need to have conversations about taking things out? So maybe that would be helpful to start that up again and then go from there.
Mayor, Kelly, the CIP projects that would be eliminated would be, what, Field 1, I believe?
So for the general CIP, that is your solar lighting projects.
Correct.
For the facilities R&R, just want to make sure you heard that one. The facilities R&R are the air conditioning, which is just an ongoing amount that we put in the budget, and we do whatever the next project is. Fire station bay floors, Riviera Fishing Pier, half of which we would assume would be funded with a grant, and the ongoing dollars for Shell parking lot rehab. And then the leisure services, we have Nova Field 1.
And some of these projects may be funded out of the reserve.
Right, that was the suggestion.
All of them are going to be funded
That
out of
they
the
would
reserves.
all be funded out of the
We're not taking
reserves.
away any services.
Right, that's the
Really, the only thing that we're
1,061,000.
taking away is the parks positions, and I'm willing to add those back in. I don't really want to take them. I'm just trying to get us flat, and we're still providing the services our residents want, and we still have a reserve fund percent will be 17.54, which is above our benchmark of 15%.
But if we take those items out, the CIP out, that's taking out a millage. So the following year, we won't have that millage
Yes.
again.
That is correct.
You'd
So
have to add it
it's
back.
like it's funded out of the reserves, Commissioner, but it's a recurrent, we can't keep taking that out of reserves.
After we go through our Doge, we can always add it back in. Correct? Can that be added back in next year?
If you direct us to add that back in during the next budget process, we'll do that. But
Thank you.
going to flat and adding back are not the same,
Yeah, so she's basically saying if we add it back next year, we
incongruent.
don't get to go flat next year,
Right. I don't know that we can get you there.
essentially.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that my solar lighting project's not going to get cut, correct? Because that's for safety.
Right?
Okay, so while we're up here, they're also asking for 2 more lights at soccer field for safety reasons. So while we're up here, they need the lighting for soccer fields.
I would submit that after this process is done, if we do a self-Doge, that next year if we decide or we find that we have to have an increased millage for CIP or for recreation or whatever, it will give these folks some transparency that at least we did go through the process to see, identify if there's any places that could be cut, and at least have the conversation there that the extra millage might be needed.
And you also have the other, don't forget, you have the other dedicated millages, right? Public safety vehicles, general vehicles, and transportation. So you can also, and we can have a conversation about this in March, you can direct us to move those millages around as well. They're not set. The commission decides that for us.
So are we cutting the R&R for recreation?
Yes, so it might be helpful if I just go through this really quickly, because
One more time.
I feel like maybe there's some confusion, right? The general fund millage would get cut by 0.086 mils, right? That's a permanent reduction. Or if you didn't want to cut the parks, if somebody's going to make an amendment to the amendment here, then we would reduce that, and it would be cut by 0.0665 mils instead to keep the 2 new parks positions. I think that's pretty clear. The general CIP, that's the solar lighting project. The millage would be reduced by 0.038 mils. The project would be funded instead through general fund reserves. The facilities R&R, and I'm sorry, I want to just clarify for you. That reduction in the general CIP is not the whole general CIP. So you understand, there's still ongoing dollars there. We had 2 projects in the general CIP. One of them was the project here at City Hall, the security enhancement project. The other was the solar lighting. So you're eliminating the property tax on one of those. So there is still ongoing property tax for the prior year, but you're effectively cutting it in half. The same is true with the facilities R&R, right? You're effectively cutting that funding in half. It would be down to about $500,000 per year. And we talked about what those projects were. All those projects would still be funded through general fund reserves. Leisure services millage would be completely eliminated, right? But we could continue with the Nova Field 1 project if that's what the commission wanted us to do and was willing to give us general fund reserves to do that. The other half coming from ECHO, if we get an ECHO grant.
I don't know, guys. I feel like we have fought so hard for Parks and Recreation millage. They've done a lot of good with that money. And I'm just coming back to why are we doing it right now? Why can't we?
I'm a no on anything Parks and Rec being cut.
I don't either.
I'm not doing it. Not my personally.
That's all I've heard is Parks and Rec. We need to keep it in there, and we fought to get it in.
We promised those people we weren't going to cut from Parks and Rec, and here we are proposing, maybe not tonight, but next year, here we are, we're cutting the millage that would potentially cut their projects.
Right, and being on leisure services for the years that I did, we always had a long-range plan, and it would be this year, and then it got moved to this year, got moved to this year, back, and there's probably still projects on that list that haven't been funded for the last 10 years, and that's why we added that R&R and that dedicated millage. So I'm really struggling with that a lot. And we can safely say police and fire are fine. We're going to make sure nobody wants to defund those. But it's always Parks and Recreation that gets kicked down the road. Is it essential? It's not like water, but it is your quality of life. It's what makes Ormond Beach so special. So I'm struggling with that big time.
Commissioner Briley, on Parks and Rec, I think that you weren't comfortable either, right, with that?
I'm sorry?
You weren't comfortable either with the elimination of those two, or not?
Well, no, I wanted the two positions, and what Kelly stated, it would be about 45 cents.
45 cents, yeah.
For the average resident for the year.
We fought hard to get that millage. Have to think about it.
If I might just jump in here, remember those are internally dedicated. Those are not something that are legally dedicated. You can always move those things around. So you have a lot of flexibility there. Secondarily, we have big appetites for capital projects, but not necessarily enough time or manpower to get them all done in a certain period of time. So I think there's some flex in there. I don't think that there are hard and fast lines, because I think there's some flexibility in there that you can get as much done as you can, and you can't always do it all in 1 year. And we're very good at getting grants. We're very successful with ECHO, with FINE, with, St. John's River Water Management District. So we're very successful in the grant program. So I just don't think you need to look at it as such a hard and fine line. That's what I'm saying.
I think the concern was, though, if we have the dedicated millage and we take it out, it's very hard to get it back. Mm-hmm. However, I do know we can if we have to. Well, if we desire to. So.
And that's entirely.
Well, any other discussion here?
I guess my concern with it coming back is it's not a guarantee. If there's a different commission up here, there's not a guarantee.
But they can always take it out, too.
They can take it out, too. That's correct, yeah.
Okay, well, I think we got an idea where we're going here. What's the motion right now are we a motion at 4.3867 mils?
So this is a motion to amend the underlying resolution. And so Kelly, if you want to summarize that for them.
Certainly. So it was a motion.
Before you summarize, Mr. Mayor, I haven't heard really from you your thoughts. You've heard all of us. We're spilling everything out. What are your thoughts?
I'm taking down so many notes here, and I forgot that I didn't even get a chance to talk. Listen, this has been a hard process. I mean, I had a lot of stuff here that I was going to read. I'm not going to read all of it here, but I will just maybe just paraphrase here a little bit. This year, we've had several big-ticket items come through, one being the long-term overdue police pay increase that carried over from last year's negotiations. I'll say the increase has proven effective as the police department has hired 11 new officers this year. When I was elected, we were down about 11 plus. I believe the department was down. The progress should also help reduce overtime costs, with the department now operating close to full staff, providing faster service to our residents. We talked about, just in conversation here, about some of these positions. Is Robert Carolyn even here? Okay. But I remember in the workshop, he was talking about the importance of those positions. I think that one of those positions was going to have somebody go there daily at the parks to take out the trash and check the bathrooms. And there was going to be another person dedicated to checking all the playground equipment and things of that nature, because I don't think that we have people there checking the parks on a daily basis. So these two positions would have people there checking the parks every day. And we enjoy our parks, right? We have a lot of parks, and I visit the parks often just to check on things myself. The other two positions that we mentioned, the risk management and public works, I would agree with somebody on that. Maybe we can push that off another time. And another important thing too was that we did add the millage for the Parks and Rec, and I will agree with some of you. I know Commissioner Briley stressed that off, a lot, that by adding that millage, it would be now just it was hard to get that millage added. Now to go back and then have to try to add it later, that might be another task in itself. I also agree with that. We should have these workshops sooner, right? I mean, March, that sounds good. There's a lot of things that we have to absorb as a commission, a lot of things come in our direction, and we don't want to, we don't want to cut services on anybody. I mean, we love our police, we love our fire, and all those things, but even like Commissioner Briley said, it's the latent defects that are the ones that we have to really be cautious of. And for some of you that don't know what latent defects are, those are things that you can't say. So, our infrastructure, things like that. I was at a meeting last week with some residents at the library that were very concerned about flooding and other things where storm drains. And that was like the hot topic of the evening. I was actually expecting to go in there talking about maybe some other things, but every resident was concerned about the infrastructure. So these are things that are important that we need for our community. And when we're talking about cents here, I mean, we talked about 40 cents, 45 cents on some of these services. I mean, we're talking pennies. So I will be okay with going along here with what I liked here. I mean, the unfortunate thing is that, and we talked a lot just in private meetings and even our workshops, that the money that would pay for this in our reserves, we do have to pay back, right? So these things will come back. But I am okay with the risk management position, the public works, the position. The Parks and Rec, I'm not, I think that it's important. I had a resident, I don't know if she's here, she might be here. We walked through the Nova Rec Center Park, and we noticed that a lot of the exercise equipment didn't have the labels on them that you could see anymore about how to use the equipment and the instructions and things like that. So that's one of the positions that would be filled, is to have somebody go in there and put those labels back on, or put new labels, whatever it is that they need, so people know how to use the equipment and use it safely. So I would probably say that I would be inclined to want to keep those positions because, like I said, adding the millage later, I don't know how much that's going to take, but we have a lot of work to do as a commission in the next 12 months. And I don't think that trying to add Parks and Rec back in the millage is something that we should be focused on. So I think that we should also stick with the two positions as well. Commissioner Sargent.
Kelly, what would it be if we just eliminated the risk manager, the public works, and the live streaming? What would that do to our millage?
It would reduce it by 0.0665, so.
We don't really do public math. if you have anything else, we'd like to kind of take a recess and.
Yeah. Well, if there's nothing else we want to discuss, then maybe we should take a quick recess. Is that okay with everybody? Oh,
The question Kelly, help me out. When I asked the question earlier, if we cut the two public works and the risk management position, and the live stream and kept the two new positions, be about 45 cents. Is that pretty much what you're looking at as well? So it's whatever that millage rate was, just keeping the two, eliminating everything else and just doing the two parks positions. Is that what you're saying, Commissioner Sargent? No? I'm sorry.
I'm saying just
From the last. Right.
just take out those two positions and the live streaming.
Okay.
Leave everything else the way it is.
So let me answer your question first. No worries. Commissioner Sargent. So the millage, total millage right now was 4.4497. That's the resolution. And then if we were just to eliminate the two positions, the public works position, the risk manager position, and the live streaming, that reduces the millage by 0.0665. So your total millage, your total new millage would be 4.3832.
3832?
Yeah.
Thank you.
4.3832.
And what is the current millage rate, Kelly?
The current millage rate is 4.1610. So you're still above, right? You're still above because you're just talking about that. Now, to answer your question, Commissioner Briley, if we were to do everything that was proposed here except eliminating the two new positions, I think that was your question? Okay. So the total millage would be 4.1716, just slightly over the current, about a penny over the current.
That's what you should do.
Do you have an average household, I know you don't want to do math for me, on the 4.3832, average household increase a year?
I think Chris is trying to do it here for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's probably about $70, I'm going to guess, for the year.
70.
okay.
If that's the case, I'd like to make a motion to proceed with the 4.3832 millage.
We've already got a motion to amend.
Never mind, I lied.
Yeah, you have to, I think that's the amendment to the motion. That's on the table.
And depending on where you end up with this, I'll help guide you through the procedural aspects of this.
Appreciate it, Randy. So just an amendment then to the motion that's on the table then by Commissioner Sargent?
So we have a motion to amend the underlying resolution, and I think Kelly might want to repeat that. If there's two ways to handle that. We can either call a vote on that motion to amend. If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, then somebody can make another motion to amend. Or if you're of the opinion now that you want to withdraw that, if the maker of the motion and seconder of the motion want to withdraw that, then you can withdraw the motion and somebody can make a new motion, if that helps.
Okay.
That's our current.
Is that cleaner?
To withdraw?
Either way works. But yeah, for your purposes, it's probably cleaner just to pull the motion, assuming that the seconder is fine with that, and then you can make a new motion to amend.
Okay.
I'll withdraw the amended motion.
Second.
Okay.
So are we not pulling from reserves then? We're just amending the millage at this point?
Yes.
I motion we amend the millage to the 4.3832, which would be the last proposed millage, less the risk management public works position, and less the live stream, keeping the other projects, the CIP, and keeping leisure services dedicated millage.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
If you would like to call a vote on that, we need a recess because we need to calculate the rollback rate on that.
Okay, should I do the recess before or after the call? Call the vote first?
No, you cannot call the vote until I tell you what the rollback
Yeah, we
is.
got to do a recess then. So let's meet back here at 8:30. It's like 5-6 minutes. Is that good enough? A little more.
No, sir. I also have to now recalculate your budget for you.
Okay,
So I'm going to need 15 minutes to do
15 minutes.
that.
Okay, 15 minutes. We'll be back. Okay, time now is 8:41. I'm going to call this meeting back to order again. As soon as everyone gets seated here, we'll get started from the dais. Come on there. You got it. Okay, so before we went into short recess here, there was a motion on the dais here and a second to amend the millage rate. So I'm just going to read here. The final operating millage of 4.3202 mils is 10.66% above the rolled back millage rate of 3.9042 mils. The resolution also includes adoption of the final debt service millage rate of 0.063 for the 2010 General Obligation Bond Sinking Fund. With that, if everybody is okay with that, and any other questions or comments, I can have the city clerk call the vote. Seeing none?
Mr. Mayor, just one question. Okay. So this current millage leaves intact the recreation, the dedicated millage rate, dedicated millage for recreation.
That is correct.
And for the CIP.
It leaves intact all of the dedicated villages.
Okay.
And before you vote, just to make sure that the record is clear, this is a motion to amend the underlying resolution. Everybody understand what they're voting on, or do you need the motion to be restated?
I think we all know.
Can we restate just for clarity, please?
Kelly, can you summarize that for them?
Certainly, the motion was for an operating millage rate of 4.3202 mils. That's 10.66% above the rollback rate, and for informational purposes, 5.34% above our current rate. And then there is also the debt service millage of 0.063 mils. The reduction that you asked to make were for the two positions, Public Works and Risk Manager, as well as the live streaming. No other reductions were being made.
Does that reflect the motion in a second?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay.
Any other discussion before I call the vote?
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Certainly.
So we're at 4.3202.
Mm-hmm.
What did I miss from 4.3832?
4.3202 is the operating.
Okay.
And then the debt service.
Got
Yes.
it. Okay,
And
thank
then
you.
the total is 4.3832.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay, with that said, City Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Deaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Briley.
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Mayor Leslie.
Yes.
And now call vote on the underlying resolution as amended.
Commissioner Tolland.
What am I voting right now? I'm all confused.
So that was a motion to amend the resolution.
Okay,
Yes, right?
and now we're doing
So now
it
you're voting
with what
on
you
the-
said, yes.
On the underlying resolution as you just amended it.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm on the right page. Yes.
Thank you, Randy.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Briley.
Yes.
Mayor Leslie.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on now to City Clerk. Please read the legal title for 4B.
Ordinance number 2025-29, an ordinance adopting the annual budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, beginning October 1, 2025, and ending September 30, 2026, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2025-29, read by title only.
Move approval.
Second.
And now we need an amendment so that this matches the reduction in the tax rate.
Yes.
So we need an amendment in the general fund, amended to $52,356,211.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say
We
that
need the
again?
general fund budget amended to be $211. That's a reduction of $380,000. The total appropriation for all funds, $142,413,379. And your net budget, when you take out the duplicates, $116,979,854.
Okay.
That's your amendment to the resolution, so somebody should make a motion to amend, and then somebody should second that.
Motion to amend as per the Finance Director, Kelly McGuire.
Second.
Okay, and the city clerk can, now, unless you want to discuss it further, the city clerk can call vote on the motion to amend.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Mayor Leslie?
Yes.
And now call vote on the underlying ordinance as amended.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton?
Yes.
Mayor Leslie?
Yes. Okay.
And can I clarify one thing, Mayor,
Yes.
before you move on? The capital improvement plan is on your consent agenda. I just want to make sure everybody's clear that what you just approved is consistent with what that capital plan is. There's no amendment necessary.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Do I hear any objection to closing the public hearing? Hearing none, public hearing is closed. We're going to move on to, at this time, we'll hear from those who have signed a card to speak about any item which is not on the printed agenda for this meeting or any items on the consent agenda. Each person will be given a total of 3 minutes, and when you come up, just state your name and your address. Jeff Boyle.
Jeff Boyle, 614 North Halifax Drive. Mr. Mayor, this mailer has your name on it. You are portrayed as the tax hero, while our commissioners, also named, are called arrogant, clueless, and out of touch. The cartoons on both sides portray them as pickpockets stealing from taxpayers, despite their honest hard work, preserving the lowest tax rate of any city in the county. Their public record contradicts the lies on this mailer, yet your supporters have lined up to run against them. Mr. George Arnold, who paid for this mailer, and his name is on it, and its distribution, was your biggest cash contributor to your campaign. He also paid for a distributed, quote, "Purses are liberal" signs that helped you win your election. He is your guy. You are his guy. And meanwhile, Mr. Arnold's attack signs on A1A are lawfully protected by the First Amendment, but they disrespect our residents and diminish our city. Mr. Mayor, you are associated with this mailer and its producer. You profess to work with the City Commission while working behind the scenes with negative supporters who promote divisiveness and distrust. You still are not unifying and bringing our citizens together. Your political associations undermine the city you took an oath to defend and protect. And residents were disappointed when this showed up in their mailbox to find this negative disinformation mailed to them. I think the four commissioners, you're probably not going to get an apology from anybody, but I'm going to make one for the community. We are sorry that this was mailed to the entire city. This mailer is not Ormond Beach. This is not who we are. I'm going to repeat that. This is not who we are. Thank you.
Next up is Claire Atwell.
He left. He was right there. He's gone.
Oh, yes, okay. Claire is gone. Amber Boback.
Sorry, I'm short. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor Leslie. My name is Amber Boback, 397 Collins Street. As you know, I've been actively concerned with the proposed Circle K gas station in my neighborhood. I'm here tonight to update you on where things stand because I have continued to pursue this through a state process. Monday, I presented my case officially before a judge with the State Department of Administration hearings against the St. Johns River Water Management District and the applicant of their issued ERP permit by the district. My concerns brought to the hearing: first, flooding and water quantity. The slope and grading of the project along with new impervious surfaces will send more water into a stormwater system that already struggles during heavy rains and hurricanes. For those of us who live downhill, that raises real safety concerns. Second, stormwater treatment and water quality. The water from this project will move through our Central Park ponds before reaching the Halifax River. Those ponds are already nutrient loaded and stressed. Adding fuel runoff, metals, and more contaminants risk worsening conditions in the waters that many of us fish, kayak, and enjoy with our families. Third, construction impacts and stability. To even build this project, the ground has to be destabilized, restabilized, and the applicant has admitted they will need to pump groundwater just to construct the design. That raises serious questions about whether this is truly the right location for this type of development. For me and many of my neighbors, this is about making sure the long-term impacts on flooding, water quality, and neighborhood safety are fully considered. I will keep doing my part, and I wanted you to know where things stand. Now we wait for the judge's ruling, which we should receive in around 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. Next up, we have Dan Werlick. Is Dan still here? No Dan. Okay. We have Eric Palakios. There he is.
Good evening. My name is Eric Palacios. I'm a Ormond Beach resident, 3 Burr Oak, and business owner, as well as the chair for 2025 for the Ormond Chamber. I was prepared tonight to come and talk to you about our appreciation as the Ormond Chamber for the support that the city gives us to do the many things that we do. We are the welcome center for the city. We do ribbon cuttings for businesses, Teacher of the Quarter, and a lot of other events that support our community and business development. I'm sort of going to stop there because I think the things that have happened tonight I think are disturbing, and I can't in good conscience come up here and not address them. Travis, I think what you did today was a disgrace and an embarrassment to the city of Ormond Beach. If I recall correctly from the last meeting we were at, public workshops for the budget started in March, have gone all the way through this year. We have 2 readings that were done. And after the public outcry, we all sat up here and talked about how public recs was important, how police and fire were important, and it was a unanimous decision to approve the millage rate as proposed last time. Yet tonight we come here when it should have been a procedural vote to approve what has already been approved. You decide to say, well, I'd welcome Doge. We need to think about what we do. The time for that was months ago. And I think it's ridiculous that tonight, when it's supposed to be a procedural reading, you decide to bubble this back up when you actually called mayor for that activity online and whatever yourself. And I think it's a disgrace, and I'll leave it at that. Well, actually, no. When you said you welcomed Doge to come here, right? Why? Because you knew that the city budget was run properly. Well, all of a sudden now it's a little bit different, apparently. Mayor, you've had enough kind of rhetoric this evening about George Arnold's mailer. I ask you to simply kind of put this to rest. As you said, you would work with the rest of the commissioners. Will you at least just publicly state that that mailer is misleading? Because I think that's the problem, is you have situations in which we come here, we vote tonight, and I appreciate the thought that had to go into redoing the millage rate tonight, and I appreciate city staff for doing that. But at the end of the day, there was a smaller increase and should have gone into effect, but there was nonetheless an increase. I think it's disconcerting when Mr. George Arnold is saying you're not for higher taxes when your vote says you were. And it's just a natural thing, but that's the type of confusing rhetoric that is frustrating to the citizens of Ormond. To Lori, Kristen, Harold, thank you for having a backbone and making a tough decision that, again, was needed in the behalf of our citizenship, of our citizens. The last thing I'll say is we deserve good leaders making tough decisions, and we appreciate everything you do. I know it's not an easy situation that you're on. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next up is Jodia Johanna Stefano.
I'm sorry. First time.
And just for the record, if you can, just state your name and your address, please.
Yes. My name is Jodia Johanna Stefano. I'm in the Lake Ridge community, District 3 in Ormond Beach. I'm a resident. Okay, my time started. So I don't know if it's a show of force or something, or if the Ormond Beach police officers that are here right now are usually here. I filed a formal lawsuit under Florida's public records law. The city, Randy Hayes, third-party attorneys denied, delayed, and outright refused to give me anything or to cooperate. There's collusion going on. The third-party attorney absolutely has used the secretaries in the records division, Ormond Beach Police Department, as scapegoats who know nothing about what's going on, fraudulized documents without even realizing it, and hasn't had proper counsel. Yes, and the whole thing is that, right, I was arrested recently for misuse of a 911 system. You see this? Because I wasn't scared. When I had to make a declaration to 911 because Captain D.W. Smith showed use of force with 6 officers calling in a disturbance after Sandra and I had a 44-minute conversation regarding records, but mostly actually a neighborly conversation, where he didn't even come out to see for himself what was going on and propagated the arrest before it even happened. Didn't Miranda me, interrogated me, and then arrest me as he planned. I was ambushed as soon as I got to my car after getting out of jail by 2 officers, one who's here, Lieutenant Gardner, right? Because I'm known for sending fake court documents, referencing one of the defendants in another case that's extenuating, because the city has not only refused to do anything, but the city is purposely choosing that I'm not worth it for them to do anything. Their exact words to me were, "It's not like you were raped or there was a murder." This has been going on since July 2024. It escalated in November 2024, where the only thing that I have to prove that I've done anything about it is the complaints that I made and the dispatch calls that I made to put declaration in case something happens. There is 4 retaliatory unlawful arrests. We showed up to the magistrate hearing where the city clerk was told to me to be city legal. And when I asked who the city clerk was, they gave me their email, and they didn't differentiate. They differentiated like there was 2 different people, but I see it's the same person. Travis Sargent was on the phone with me a couple weeks ago and a few months ago before things even escalated, before there was anything that ever came to the court. And he hung up on me and then blocked my number. I've left messages for you, Mr. Mayor, and nothing's happened. And I'm asking that there is an audit that's overviewed by the commissioners, whoever's in charge, by the mayor himself, unless you're a part of it. I can't understand, Mr. Sargent, why you would do that. Why you would hear the start of my situation, put the phone down, hear me talking, hang up, and then block my number.
Thank you. I don't know what that was all about. Next is Joe Thacker. Joe still here? Oh, there you are.
Good evening, Joe Thacker, 390 North Orange Avenue, Orlando. I am yielding my time back to you all, but I would like to recommend that you listen closely to Mr. Alan Flores when he comes up here, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have after that. He was going to speak before I did. So thank you.
Okay. Alan Flores? I don't know what that means. I don't know what's going on with that.
Good evening. Mayor, Commissioner, staff, appreciate the opportunity.
Alan Flores with Foundation Risk Partners, 780 West Granada Boulevard. A couple of weeks ago, I believe, the city of Ormond Beach made a decision to throw out the bid for employee benefits since the proposals were beyond the scope of the RFP. We absolutely respect that decision on that basis and come to you as residents and business owners in this wonderful city to have you consider an alternative that saves much needed taxpayer money, but also does so by legal means. During the last meeting, the city decided to extend the existing contract on the employee benefits, and as such, puts taxpayers in a position to pay more than what they would with the other two options offered, since the existing contract has a higher compensation provision. You created a competitive environment. It worked by putting it out to bid. You don't have to throw that away, and you don't have to throw away the savings that you could get by taking on an alternative way of looking at this. So instead of taking the option to extend, what we would ask you is you can substantively consider those two proposals from us, from our competitor, but you can do so by legal means. In your documents on the website, you have a provision for piggyback. You could take advantage of that. That would allow you to piggyback off of an existing contract with another Florida municipality. We have over 80 in the state. Brown & Brown has over 100. By doing that, you would save time because you wouldn't have to put it out to bid, and that is a lot of time on staff. What you could do is this will allow you to substantively consider either proposal. Your documents and your website specifically say, in short, piggybacking refers to using competitive bids obtained by other governmental entities. The city may utilize a competitive bid solicited by any other municipal, county, state, federal, governmental agency, any combination of such agencies, or any other competitive bid deemed to be in the best interest of the city. By piggybacking other bids, the city can avoid the time-consuming process of soliciting bids for the same commodity of service. So what we ask you to do is instruct staff to go to us, to go to our competitor, and to ask for a contract that you can piggyback off of that essentially has a scope of services that we proposed 2 weeks ago. What that would allow you to do is take advantage of the savings. It would allow you to, and not force you to extend the contract and pay more this year than you otherwise would. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I just want to say something, though, and I appreciate you coming out here, but I think one of the big challenges that we have, and this is the purpose of the RFP, so the RFP was put out by the direction of the commission, and staff has to, go through this long process, right? And we have contracts with unions and things like that, and we just can't change the scope of the plan, just on the short notice like this, because there's a long process here. I mean, I don't know how long once it took staff to go through the RFP process, but it took quite a while.
Right.
And so, the only thing that I could think of, and this is after talking to our legal department, is that, we'd have to just, if this commission chooses to go that direction, then we would have to give direction to staff to put another RFP out if we want to go with that type of insurance plan. So I think that's one of the big challenges. And Randy can jump in if there's anything that, you'd like to add to that, but I think that's one of the challenges that we have with
Well,
right?
the RFP was based on the existing coverage, right? And so and it was for brokerage services. So you had a $50,000 difference in the brokerage service fee for the same coverage. The money's not going to be saved on the coverage per se because it's the same coverage. It's going to be based on the brokerage fee. What FRP proposed included a change to the existing coverage. Any changes to a benefit package to the employees have to be bargained collectively with the union. So we just can't do that as suggested. So the commission in every bid situation always has the option to reject all bids. You don't need an excuse to do it. You can do so. And in this instance, the 3 voting members determined that it was in the best interest of the city to reject the bids, and then the city staff was instructed to negotiate an extension of the existing contract for the brokerage service, and that's what we're going to do. Now, if you want to make changes to the employee benefit healthcare plan, then your staff needs to be involved in that very much. And piggybacking an RFP or bid from another agency isn't going to get you where you need to be, because your staff needs to be involved in that. We need to understand what plan benefits work for the employees, because you got to remember, this is a benefit to the employees. It's not so much about saving money as much as it is a condition of employment benefit, and you need to take that into consideration. So you voted on this the last meeting. The bids have been rejected, and I believe your staff is in the process of trying to negotiate an extension of that contract, and that's what we're going to do unless we're instructed to do something else.
Yeah, sure, Commissioner Deaton.
Is it a legal option to piggyback?
The only time you can piggyback a bid or an RFP is if you're going to piggyback the exact scope of the contract from the other entity. Typically, if you're going to piggyback a bid for widgets or pencils, that will work. If you're going to piggyback a bid for services, it generally will not work because the footprint of the scope of services tends to change. And there's lots of case law on this very issue, and we've been through it in the past. Typically with software and IT stuff is where you see a lot of this stuff. When you're getting into insurance lines of coverage, it's a completely different ball of wax. So, in my opinion, no, it will not work.
Randy, are you saying it would almost have to be identical coverage, or what?
Right. The RFP was for the existing coverage. It's a benefit to the employees. Mm-hmm. If you want to change the coverage, you can do that in an orderly process, but it's not going to be in this process because you're going to have to bargain that change with the unions before you implement it. They have a say in that, and you've got 3 unions. So, under the process, what we'll need to do is to understand the benefit package. We'll need to coordinate that with the employee union representatives, find out what benefits they like, which ones they don't like, which ones they may want to change, and then we're going to have to figure out someone to bargain that collectively with the unions, and we'll have to involve our labor council with that. So that's the process. It's not going to be a short process.
Why is he being provided a conversation?
No, well, I'm sorry. Just, thank you, Mr. Gomez. I hope that helps you. Flores, I'm sorry.
For the record, I would like to say, I know that we were not allowed to entertain the proposal that was brought to us last time. They did save us over $300,000 on our P&C insurance, and I do like that they were able to propose potential savings for us of quite a bit of money. And if that's an option in the future to explore, I would like to explore that option.
Okay, next up is Carol Troxel. Carol here? No, going once, twice, no Carol. Mary Greenkiss? Greenless, I'm sorry, looks like a K right there.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Mary Greenlees. I live at 94 North St. Andrews. I know all of you. I want to thank all of you for all your work. I think Ormond Beach is the most beautiful town. I've been all over the world, and I love our town. A lot has happened in the last 3 weeks. I went away to Africa, and my partner, John Oliveri, he has been a partner of mine for almost 40 years. We tease John. He's one of the most conservative human beings I have ever met. We've teased him over the years. He uses, and he said, I can say this, he's not here tonight. He uses both sides of an adding machine tape, which we no longer use because of computers, but we used to tease him about that. He counts pencils. He is a saver. He has volunteered numerous hours on your finance committee for your budget. I know a lot of you know John. When I was gone in Africa, he texted me and he said, Mary, for once I have volunteered and the results look great Every commissioner and the mayor voted yes on the budget change. 2 weeks. What happened? Now I see that you reeled it in a little bit. You got some of the stuff you wanted, but for next year, I agree with Kristen if you need to spend more time, but when you guys make a decision, why wouldn't you stick with it? It sounds like a lot, and the insurance thing is complicated, but it sounds like some politics got in the way. And we really need to change that as Ormond Beach residents. The other thing I did is I came home and I saw that flyer, and the first thing I did was text the commissioners I know and say, what can we do to help? How did this happen? Jason, your name wasn't on that flyer. Someone else's name was on it. I couldn't imagine that you would have any part of that. I just couldn't imagine. You love this area. I actually looked up the definition of leadership. Leadership is the ability to influence, guide, and inspire others towards achieving a common goal or vision. It isn't just about holding authority. It isn't about setting direction. It's about building trust, making decisions, and motivating people to work together efficiently. Good leadership for a small town mayor, because I call our town a small, beautiful town, means guiding the community with vision, integrity, accessibility, listening to residents, making fair decisions, solving problems responsibly, and inspiring trust and pride in our town. We need to get back to that, guys. I cannot imagine that you had any part of that flyer. I just can't imagine that you would allow something like that to go out. The cartoon character, too, as a woman, my God, that picture of that woman with her jeans, and I was appalled. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that said, I don't have any more cards here, so we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. The minutes for the September 3rd, 2025 City Commission meeting have been sent to the Commission for review and posted to the city's website. Does anyone have any corrections or changes?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All those approved by saying aye?
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Motion approved. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are deemed routine and non-controversial. The action proposed is stated for each item. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Does any member of the commission wish to pull any items from the consent?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Staff would like to pull item C because there's some commissioners that may have to abstain from the vote.
7C, got it. Thank you, City Manager.
Move approval absent item C.
Second.
Okay, I don't have any cards here, so City Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland? Yes. Mayor Leslie?
Yes. City Clerk, when you get a chance, can you read 7C?
Resolution number 2025-148, a resolution accepting proposals for the provision of various forms of insurance coverage, including property, general liability, auto, inland marine equipment, drone liability, storage tank liability, cyber liability, accidental death and dismemberment, law enforcement and firefighters, tenant and user liability, tulip, special events, active shooter and malicious attack, terrorism, professional liability, EMTs and paramedics, flood and excess workers' compensation, authorizing the execution of documents relative thereto, authorizing payment therefore, and setting forth an effective date. This is resolution number 2025-148, read by title only.
Commissioner Sargent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be abstaining from voting as I'm an employee at Foundation Risk Partners, and I will be submitting my Form 8 to the City Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Deputy Mayor?
Yep, I will abstain from voting on this item as I have a son that works for the company. And I have been in contact with the Florida Board of Ethics in Tallahassee and have been instructed that I could participate in discussion, although it's not necessary, but refrain from voting. And I already provided my Form 8B with the city clerk.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I guess I would just like to make a comment. I did a little bit of research, and correct me if I'm wrong, we saved $300,000 on this policy, correct, when we switched? Is that about roughly where we were? I know their broker fee was slightly higher, but we did save significantly, right?
We'll have Claire Whitley, the assistant
Thank
manager,
you.
come up here
Yes,
and-
Claire Whitley, Assistant City Manager and HR Director. We did, I don't have those numbers in front of me, we did make some changes in coverage. We reduced our wind coverage to see some of those savings, and the fee went up slightly, but there was an overall savings.
Awesome. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other discussion before I call the vote?
I'd like to make just a comment.
Sure, Commissioner Sargent.
You know, part of the DOJ and what I've said before and putting these large contracts out for bid prove that savings is available. And I just think that this is another example of that. And I just appreciate the hard work that went into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sargent. With that said, City Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Deaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Abstain.
Commissioner Sargent?
Abstain.
Mayor Leslie?
Yes. Does any commissioner wish to comment on anything on the consent agenda at this time? No? Okay, we're going to move along then. We're going to move on to public hearings. I'll now open the public hearings. City Clerk, please read the legal title for 8A, ordinance number 2025-30.
Ordinance number 2025-30, an ordinance amending section 22-23, minimum meter rates generally, 22-24, multiple minimum charges, 22-71, service charge established, 22-136, minimum water rates, and 22-137, minimum wastewater rates of Chapter 22, Water and Sewers of the City of Ormond Beach Code of Ordinances by increasing water and sewer rates, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2025-30, read by title only.
This is the second reading here. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Do we need the finance director to come up again to speak? I think we all know what this is about. I don't have any audience remark cards. Any questions or comments by the commission? Seeing none. Okay, City Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton?
Yes.
Mayor Leslie?
Yes. I will now close the public hearings. And we're going to move on to 9A. City Clerk, please read the title for ordinance number 2025-31.
Ordinance number 2025-31, an ordinance amending section 10-16, fees for collection and disposal established of Article 1 in general of Chapter 10, solid waste, yard waste, and recyclables of the City of Ormond Beach Code of Ordinances by increasing fees for the collection and disposal of solid waste, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2025-31, read by title only.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Move. Second.
The second reading again. I don't think we need the finance director to come up. And I do not have any cards. Any questions by the commission? No. City Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Mayor Leslie?
Yes. City Clerk, please read the legal title for 9B, ordinance number 2025-32.
Ordinance number 2025-32, an ordinance amending section 22-158, utility fee established of Division 2 rates and charges of Article 5, stormwater drainage utility of Chapter 22, water and sewers of the City of Ormond Beach Code of Ordinances by increasing the stormwater utility fee, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2025-32, read by title only.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion. Second.
Second reading again on this one. I don't think we need the finance director up here, right? No. I do not have any cards. Any questions by the commission? No. City Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Briley,
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland,
Yes.
Mayor Leslie.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 10, report, suggestions, request, starting with the city manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. On October 8th, we plan to hold that grounds maintenance workshop that you've been talking about. The commission meeting has been changed for October 8th because National Night Out is on Tuesday of that week. So your regular commission meeting will be on October 8th, and we plan to have that workshop before the meeting. On October 21st, we have your regular commission meeting, but that'll be back on a Tuesday. The city received $1.4 million today from the state for Hurricane Milton debris cleanup. You know, that hurricane was a long time ago, and we're still just waiting for debris cleanup. So that's why your reserves are important, so you can ensure that you pay those contractors and that they show up when we need them to be here, and then it takes a long time to get the debris, get the check. We also anticipate an additional $700,000 to $1.25 million in additional reimbursements for this event. The difference will largely be determined by what FEMA deems reimbursable from the tennis center. The tennis center had a lot of damage, the clay was damaged and whatnot, and that was about $600,000 worth of damage. On Saturday, September 27th, Public Works will host a staff manned sandbag fill event from 8 a.m. to 12 noon at Nova Rec. So they will be there to help you fill your bags. It's always good to get them early, even if you don't need them right now, and God willing and the creeks don't rise, we won't have a hurricane this season, but I got my bags last time they had the free fill-up, so I encourage us to get out there. Parks and Recreation, fantastic fish at the EDC on Friday, September 19th. It's a free family-friendly program for ages 5 and up. There will be 2 sessions available, 10:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. Another very, very popular event and free, Reel in the Fun Fishing Tournament on Saturday, October 4th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's right around the corner at the Bailey River Ridge Gardens. Please contact Parks and Rec to register, and Ike Leary is always a great help. He brings hot dogs and Cokes for the kids, and it's a wonderful event. The Nova Community Center is hosting multiple special population programs that include Social Squad, pickleball, and challenge sports. They're designed for citizens with special needs, and we're taking registrations now at the Community Nova Center. First Step Shelter, you should have gotten statistics in your packet. If you didn't, I'd be sure to get those out to you. Let's see if there's anything else. I'll just kind of give you an update on the recent storm that we had on, what was it, 9/10. I just want to let you know that we do monitor those heavy rain events and want you to know that your staff is out there working. The city of Ormond Beach received about 6 inches or more of rain in some areas on the evening and into the late hours of September 9th, 2025. Bennett Lane Pump Station was set for a 3-foot, and Wilmette Avenue Pump Station was set to 7 feet. Bennett Lane, as of Monday, was still sitting at a 2.6 level of water. Wilmette was about 6.7 inches? Feet. Feet, I thought, that's what I was afraid about. Wilmette was about 6.7 tidally influenced feet of water. We dispatched storm crews about 8:30 p.m. to patrol and look out for any trouble areas in the city. The following morning, Sean Finley's staff, Norbert Dudson, who heads up stormwater, headed out to take a look at some of our past and possibly current trouble spots. Dix Avenue, Hernandez, South Arbor, Ocean Village, Riverside Drive, Fleming, Ormond Beach Business Park. Along these routes, there was no flooding on any of the streets. The river was extremely high, we noticed. Our lake systems were quite high as well. He drove over to Bennett Lane. The water was a couple of inches from the top of the overflow structure. which typically happens during a heavy rain event, especially a hurricane. Our ditches were high but flowing as they should. He did not hear of any or receive any information of any dwellings that took in any water, and received one call that had water over the road. So I'm just very proud of our stormwater crew for getting out and staying out late that night to keep an eye on things. A couple of status projects on our stormwater projects. Fleming Avenue Stormwater. The contractor is currently working on the second phase of the project, which connects the system south of Fleming Avenue to Central Park interconnected ponds. The current schedule anticipates this completion to be October 31st. Fleming Avenue Pump Station. A request for information was received from FEMA in July. Staff promptly responded to this request for additional information and is awaiting further word from FEMA and the Florida Department of Emergency Management regarding the funding of this work. Staff met in August with Volusia County to discuss performing this work under the Transform 386 program with good response. The 2025 storm pipe lining project is complete. They lined over 6,000 feet of corrugated metal pipe. Activities continue in the sports complex. The 2025 stormwater ABC pond, you might not know where that is, but it's behind the ABC store on the North Peninsula. That's why we call it the ABC store, ABC pond. This project replaced and upgraded the pipe system connected to the city's pond on Ormond Shores Drive and AB Way. The contractor has completed this pipe work as well as the concrete replacement. Asphalt restoration is scheduled for this week with an anticipated date of October 1st. And that has been a perpetual problem over on the beach side, and so I'm glad we were able to get to that. Ormond Terrace, the consultant has developed modeling for the delineation of the basin and establishment of tailwater conditions. These models have been run using recent storm information from Hurricane Milton and Ian and Nicole, and work is progressing on modeling future and improved conditions so that we can make improvements there. We have a number of projects with Volusia County Transform 386. If I'm correct, that we go through their project, they bid it out, they do the work, and it just makes it an easier process for us. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have Mayfield Terrace at Tomoka Elementary, Hidden Hills, which is the FDOT ditch? Yes. The FDOT ditch in Hidden Hills, some of you are familiar with that. Bear Creek, that work is expected to begin this month. Durance Acres, the consultant is finalizing their summary of existing conditions, including the tailwater conditions for Groover's Branch. Separately, staff is meeting with the consultant for Tattersall to discuss permitting of the bypass canal there. Ormond Lakes, the consultant met with planning staff to further research the existing conditions and permitted projects along the North US 1 corridor, as well as the existing ditch and wetland system in this area. Stormwater utility work was done on Highland and Dix and Arbor Drive, Woodland, Pineland Trail Ditch, and ditch cleaning continues. I just want to demonstrate to you that stormwater is very important to our residents, and we're actively participating in lots of different projects. And lastly, I will tell you that I will not be at the second meeting in October, as I have I serve as a commissioner on the Law Enforcement Accreditation Board, and so I will be out of town on October 21st. Do you have any questions for me tonight?
Any questions for City Manager? No?
And lastly, I just want to thank each of the commission for all of their hard work on the budget. This is always a difficult time of the year. I just love that you want to start budget prep even more early, because we just love budget. So we will start planning a schedule of what meetings that we can get on your calendar early, because I think the more that we meet, the more information that you can receive and not have to drink it all with a fire hose. So again, thank you for your patience tonight, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Joyce. Assistant City Manager Sean?
And nothing further unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Sean? No? Thank you, Sean. Good night. City Attorney Randy?
No.
Okay, thank you. Good night. This evening, I'll begin with Commissioner Deaton.
Thank you. I know some of this has been said already tonight, so please bear with me. A week ago, our community and nation were reminded of how fragile life can be. From another horrific tragedy in a Colorado school to a refugee dreadfully losing her life on a train. From the heartbreaking loss of an Edgewater police officer right here in our backyard to the assassination of a young husband and father for simply having open dialogue, which we have up here. We see how precious life is and how important it is that we treat one another with respect, even in our differences. Violence, division, and hate have no place in solving the challenges we face. That's why I was really disappointed to see this mailer grow out across Ormond Beach, designed not to inform, but to divide. Misleading claims do nothing to strengthen our community. Instead, they fuel mistrust at a time when they should be working together. This mailer is exactly the kind of rhetoric that encourages people to hate. In Ormond Beach, we deserve leadership that values truth, respect, and collaboration. Unattributed attack ads may score political points, but they do not solve problems. And they certainly don't set the kind of example we should want for our city. Mr. Mayor, I know you told this commission that you wanted to work together, and I believe that. I think you do. I just need to know, do you stand behind the commitment you made to your commission to work together?
If it's okay, I have some things I want to say in my closing
Sure,
comments.
that's fine.
and
Thank
I'll-
you.
And I'll piggyback off that, okay?
That's all I have. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Briley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it short. I do want to piggyback on Commissioner Deaton's comments in relation to the tragic shooting of Officer David Jewell, the Edgewater police officer in Ormond by the Sea. My heart just goes out to the Jewell family, the Edgewater Police Department, the Edgewater community. I know it's a tough time. The poor man's not even on duty and couldn't even defend himself because he was unarmed. So it's very tragic. Lastly, and I'll just say this for Commissioner Sargent's benefit, I went by the Osceola School today, and Volusia County Schools, or someone was out there mowing grass. So looks like a call was made or something got done anyway.
School board member Krista Goodrich really helped out. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Good night, Commissioner. Deputy Mayor Tolland.
Yes, thank you. Pretty much wanted to, say a lot of what Kristen Deaton just said. And I do hope in your closing comments you talk about this. You gave us a handshake. You wanted to build consensus. I even questioned whether something like this would happen, and it did. I'm probably not, I'm cut speechless. I'm disappointed, but I wasn't surprised when I got it. So I truly hope that you respond to this in your closing comments. But moving forward, I think it's important for us up here to work together with the issues at hand, and that's what I plan to do. I always try to stay positive, and that's going to be what I'm going to do from now on. Although what I'm going to say next is not really a positive statement, but as a good reminder that September is Suicide Prevention Month. Given all the sadness that's been going on the last few weeks, it's time to raise awareness, to offer hope and remind each other that help is always within reach. This month should encourage open conversation about mental health, breaking the silence and the stigma that too often surround it. This month calls us to support those who may be struggling, to check in with our friends, our family, our loved ones, and share resources that could potentially save lives. It's together through our compassion and our connection we can play a role in prevention and healing. So please take this serious. If you know of anybody that may be struggling, sometimes it's just a simple, hello, how are you doing? and that would be a good thing. There was a lot I need to say, but I'm going to wait till the next meeting. It's a long night of some things I want to share with you, of things I've learned on conferences, but I will find the right time to do it. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Commissioner Sargent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to thank everyone involved with this budget. It's not easy. The Budget Advisory Board, staff, everyone does a heck of a job guiding us through this process, and it's not easy. And I don't like bringing options at the last minute, but I sat down with staff and just thought we would be able to discuss them. And I appreciate that we had the healthy dialogue, and that we reduced a little bit. And I think that's what's healthy and what needs to happen up here is a good dialogue, good, thoughtful dialogue where we unanimously approve the budget, which I think is very important to do. Thank you, Kelly, Chris, all staff involved. I really appreciate it. Today is also Constitution Day. On this day in 1787 was the formation and signing of the United States Constitution. Mr. Mayor, also, it's been said over and over, I know you're going to say it, I came back from a cruise and had phone calls and emails and the propaganda, whatever you want to call it, in my mailbox. I mean, it's just childish. We're better than this. It's really just, we got to move past it. And I really hope we can. I mean, we shook hands, and I really think that in order to move forward, we got to stop this childish behavior. It's not what we need. And thank you, Commissioner Tolland, for talking about Suicide Awareness Month. It's very important to me. I had a roommate in the Marine Corps who committed suicide. And I helped someone 2 years ago that called me at night. And it's, I was cleaning out a drawer yesterday, and I found the thank you letter from that person. And it's really important to check in on family and friends. And just a simple, how are you doing? Genuinely caring, not just saying it because it's the right thing or the cool thing to do. Genuinely caring, even strangers. I think it's so rewarding when you go through like a fast food restaurant or anywhere and you say thank you to someone, or you genuinely care and you see the smile that it puts on their face. It's very important, and I think we take it for granted. With that, I'll say goodnight.
Thank you, Commissioner Sargent. Well, I would like to thank all the residents who came here tonight. One of the most difficult decisions we face as a commission, and one that directly impacts your pockets, is the budget. I'm not going to read some of these things because I think I read them earlier, so I'm just going to kind of skip around here a little bit. I guess I'll jump into the flyer. I don't have any notes for that because I actually didn't know about the flyer. It showed up on my doors 2 days ago, I think. And I was shocked. And I know that we made we had a consensus here to work together. And so I'm probably on the naughty list now as well from the flyer, from the way it says. And that's okay. Unfortunately, it's hard to tell somebody what to do if they want to do that. They want to send a flyer out. They want to protest at a street corner somewhere and hold a sign. I mean, there's not a lot we can do about that, right? But I can assure you, though, that I was surprised when I saw it. And the first thing I thought was like, okay, these guys are going to think that had something to do with it. And they didn't. From there, I want to talk about some other things, though, because I'm not going to get too much in the weeds with that because I think it's pretty plain simple that it just had nothing to do with this thing. I would also like to take a moment, though, to explain our city charter. If you're not familiar with it, the charter is essentially our city's constitution, the framework for how our government operates. We are a city manager form of government. The elected officials, mayor and commissioners, hire the city manager and city attorney to run the day-to-day operations. The elected body provides direction on policy, which the commission then votes on together. Policy can only pass with a majority vote. No single vote can pass legislation on its own. Any city business requires a majority vote to pass, and in some cases, a supermajority. I want to be clear about this process because there has been some confusion, particularly regarding the duties of the mayor. Recently, a false rumor began circulating that I wanted to cut youth sports. That cannot happen. It would require a majority vote of the commission. I hope this explanation helps residents understand how decisions are made within your city government. As for tonight's second reading of the millage rate, if the vote were to fail, which I do not believe, well, it didn't fail, so I can skip over that, it would put the city in a difficult situation that I am not comfortable with, nor do I think the rest of the commission would be. Keep in mind, though, the tentative millage rate was at a 10.2% increase, and after doing some last-minute changes here at the dais, we were able to get that down significantly, so we did the best we could. I point out several possible cuts we can consider, such as leasing vehicles, reviewing auto renewal contracts, seeking reimbursement from the CRA, selling the old church property, now a parking lot on Beach Street, to pay back the general fund, and working with the legal department to handle more litigation in-house to save money. The point is that these savings cuts will be part of an ongoing process throughout the year and reflected in the next budget. Anything cut tonight would be detrimental at this time and a disservice to residents. Now, I know we did not add some positions. That was not something that was crucial, but there's some other things that could have happened, and we didn't want to see that happen. I asked the commission at our last meeting to do what the people elected us to do. Work together over the next 12 months to monitor the budget and find ways to save residents money. By doing so, I am confident we can aim for the rollback rate next year, or perhaps even lower the millage. Keep in mind, we currently have the second lowest millage rate in Volusia County. Additionally, this year, U.S. News and World Report named our city one of the best places to live, something we should all be proud of as a community. I will stand to work with this commission throughout the year in good faith. I believe my point has been made clearly over the past 2 months on the budget. That said, next year, if there are items that I feel are not in the city's best interest, my vote might change. Before I get into the next things that I've done in the last couple of weeks, I want to encourage residents to stay informed on city business. If you look at the city's organizational chart, which I wanted to have up here tonight, but I forgot to ask staff to do that, the residents are at the very top. So the residents are up here, and the city commission's right below there, city manager, and then city staff. We essentially work for the people of the community, and we're the policymakers that are the ones that provide the residents the good quality of life by giving staff direction. But I would encourage residents to visit the city website and sign up for email notifications on the agendas. If you sign up, you'll get the notification, and when the agenda comes, and you can look through the packet. Sometimes they are thousands of pages, so it might take you quite a while, but I would suggest doing that. Get involved. We're always open to your input because we work for you. Get to know your zone commissioners, attend the meetings, and participate in public comment. Your involvement makes the process stronger. I attended the Civil Air Patrol ribbon cutting on September 6th, along with Commissioner Sargent. It was a great turnout. I learned a lot about the Air Patrol does, toured their new facility, which looks fantastic, and will no doubt help the program tremendously. A special thank you to Steve Licklider for presenting me with a certificate of appreciation for my support of the program. As I mentioned in my speech, this success is credited not only to the present commission, but also to past commissions that supported the program. I also attended the officials roundtable on September 8th at Daytona Airport. We received updates from the school district by the superintendent, which were very encouraging. We also learned that JetBlue will be returning to Daytona Airport in December with direct flights to both New York City and Boston. Another speaker focused on AI and how it can be used as a benefit. I'd like to explore how we, as a city, could use AI to save money and improve efficiency. I also like the idea of creating an AI advisory board, which has already been suggested by a member of the commission, to help us explore these opportunities further. That same day, the First Step board held a meeting. The board discussed making an investment of $50,000 that can hopefully grow over time and help keep the program financially stable in the years to come. We also discussed this year's gala, The board decided to raise the ticket price from $125 to $150 per person, primarily because the net cost per person has increased in recent years, and the shelter was not profiting much at the lower rate. Sponsorship pricing has not changed, and we are actively looking for sponsors. Please see me if anyone you know may be interested. I plan to purchase a ticket this year myself with my own money, and I encourage everyone here at the dais who has expressed support for the shelter to do the same. Let's fill a table together and show our commitment. The gala will take place on February 7th at 6 p.m. at the Hilton Daytona Beach. Tickets go on sale October 1st. I would also like to thank Debbie Forrester and Marvin Miller for Ormond Strong for organizing a beautiful 9/11 memorial gathering and inviting me as a guest speaker, marking the 24th anniversary of a day that changed America. The event took place under the Granada Bridge at Casson Park and concluded with a walk across Granada Bridge and back. Thank you for everyone who came out, including our police officers and firefighters. This day hits me home personally. My hometown community lost 37 residents on 9/11, some of them parents of my friends. It was the second highest loss of a city, life of a city outside of New York. Is a day I'll never forget, nor should anyone else. Last, I also did a ride-along with one of our police officers for about 4 hours. During that time, we toured the so-called abandoned mansion on 239 Ocean Shore Boulevard, which has been widely known on YouTube. I have concerns about how open and accessible the property is. Graffiti is visible from the roadway, the doors are wide open, and the windows make it easy for anyone to go inside. Online videos are even encouraging thrill seekers to explore the property. I've asked staff to secure the site if owners will not do so, because in my opinion, it is a safety hazard and needs to be properly secured before someone gets seriously hurt. Lastly, I'd like to thank Academic Oasis Academy for hosting me as a guest yesterday. I had a chance to read a book to children about what a mayor does. They were very engaged during our discussion, and I even quizzed them at the end for a city pin, which they all did an excellent job on. I hope everyone has a good night, and thank you again to the residents who came out and spoke. Meeting adjourned.